Today we're going to talk about fear of change. This is common. If you're uncomfortable with change, that's normal. But the problem is, if you're uncomfortable with change, obviously you don't want to change. And what's the problem? Well, the problem is if you don't like certain things about your mind, your consciousness, your actions, your life in general, and you're afraid to change, then you're left with the things you haven't changed. And I always say and feel and experience that whatever pain you have to undergo to change is always going to be less than the reality of what you want to change, living with that reality. Some reality that you don't like, that's not helping you, or it's harming you. It's always more difficult to live with that than it is to change. So let's understand the psychology of change. When you want to improve something, you're working against habits. And so we're comfortable with the way we are. And in my book, Uplift Yourself, I said, some people are more comfortable with the way they are, even if the way they are isn't working, than changing, even if it would work, because changing would be uncomfortable. That doesn't make sense, does it? But I'm staying comfortable in pain because I don't have to change. So we have to understand that's human nature, and we all face that to one degree or another. So now, if you're faced with a situation that's difficult, a situation you have to change, and you feel uncomfortable, it's a good sign because now it means you're progressing. It means you're going into a new area where things are going to be better. And the problem is, but the good thing as well, is that for things to be better, you have to be better, because how can you make it better if you don't become better? But for you to be better, you have to be different. And for you to be different is sometimes uncomfortable. But try to understand what the uncomfort is saying. It means you're moving up to be something better, be something different. So you can't improve if you're the same, obviously. You have to be different, bigger, smarter, see things in different ways, new ways, different angles of vision like that. So here's the real clincher on this. The problem is not being uncomfortable. The problem is being comfortable. Because being comfortable means nothing is changing. Like Michelangelo said, the problem is not shooting high and failing. The problem is shooting low and hitting the target. Because if you're shooting low and hitting the target, it probably means you're not really going anywhere. And, for the sake of being comfortable, okay, that's great, you feel good, but nothing changed, nothing happened. So in order to do something different, obviously we have to enter a space, a world it's unknown to us, and so we're a little afraid, well, what's going to happen? And a lot of us, when we're thinking what's going to happen, are thinking of the negative things that could happen. So if you have this fear about the future, why not think of the good things that could possibly happen? Because there's just as good a chance, maybe a better chance, something good will happen than something bad. And the last thing to remember is if we think something bad is going to happen and we tell our friends, I can't do this, something bad's going to happen, what do you think is going to happen? Well, you've already kind of planned out something bad to happen, so it's kind of the way it works. Why not plan something good? I know we can make something good. Everything starts in your head. You have to visualize it, right? If you don't see it in your mind, how are you going to do it? So if you see in your mind something bad, what happens? Like subconsciously you program yourself to make something bad or something fail, not work like that. So program yourself to break through your boundaries, to see bigger pictures, bigger possibilities for your projects, for your service, and for yourself, for your consciousness, your behavior, attitudes, and so forth. And you'll see that it becomes easier to change because now, once you visualize it, it's more real. It's like you can see it happening. Like we did an exercise in Mayapur last year at the retreat, and we asked the devotees, write down your dream, and then after they wrote down their dream, the next day, we said, let's pretend it's 10 years later and you're talking about your dream as if it's happening. And so what devotees were saying, by being able to talk about the dream, it was like they were talking in present tense of something that they hadn't done yet. But by talking about it in present tense, it made it seem so more real and so more achievable that after the retreat, so much of the fear was gone because it was almost like they lived through an imagination of a reality. And the mind, it doesn't understand the difference between reality and imagination. So if you can imagine something, the mind thinks it's real, and then it can do it. So It's important to understand these things because the mind is the friend and enemy, as we know. And so if you can visualize it, you can see it happening, it's much more easy to do. You know, athletes can practice in their mind. They don't actually have to do it because the mind, thinking and doing for it, it's the same thing. So if you visualize doing it, your mind thinks, oh, you've already done it, so just keep doing it. There's one author, when he writes a book, when he's writing a book, he gets a book, a hardcover, and he puts the title on the book, and he goes, oh, the book's already written, now I just have to write it. No, the book's already done, now I just have to write the book. So he said it helps him so much to see it, like visualize it's already done. Just a few details we have to work out, like writing it, but other than that, it's done. So that's the way you get around fear. And then you get inspired. Hey, look, I have my book. I just have to write it. Or there it is. Or I have my new career. You know, there it is. Here's my card. Here's my Facebook page. Only thing missing is I just have to do it now. But the mind already is accepted, though it had already happened. It's just like Prabhupada said, just separated by time. It already happened. I can already see it, feel it, taste it, sense it. It's already there. Now let's just fill in the blanks. So that's how we overcome those fears.